joins us now. Good evening, Prof. Thanks once again for your time. I'm looking at what President Ramaphosa had to say, that it's a measure of Nhlanhla Nene's conviction and commitment, you know, that he chose to resign. Of course, saying also that he resigned, it was his decision, Nhlanhla Nene's decision to resign. The Deputy Finance Minister talking about his strategic decision, the President's strategic decision. Pula Mabe and Zizi Kodwa talking about how the President acted firmly, but by his own account, the President that is. It was Nhlanhla Nene who resigned. Who should we believe here?
Well, yes, it wasn't Nhlanhla Nene who resigned, but, you know, the pressures most definitely are there. Because Cyril Ramaphosa is trying to put his stamp of new government, clean government, a new regime into place with new values, post-Zuma, no corruption values.
But that didn't come through in what he told the nation when he made the announcement. Why is that?
Because I think Cyril Ramaphosa is trying to play very, very carefully around the ANC.
Why?
Because
Why does it feel that the need to do that?
Because the ANC is an alliance of very volatile factions. It is an alliance of some with Cyril Ramaphosa who are, I won't say outright clean, we do not always know, some are not so clean, but who at least live this idea of being clean. An alliance of them were the ones who were firmly aligned with Jacob Zuma, ones who some of the opposition parties, the Gagabas, the several, who the opposition parties are hunting down now. And the ANC feels, it strategically feels, it has to keep unity in order to survive, in order to get without serious fallout, without serious split-offs through into a next election. And that, for the ANC, I'm not saying it's justified, but from the ANC's perspective, it's necessary to go soft-footed and be very careful how you make those formulations and statements.
But what does that do to Cyril Ramaphosa and the campaign that he started since taking over at Nazareth? Because you had, sitting where you're sitting now, was the EFF's Deputy President Floyd Shivambu, and they are claiming all the credit and the victory, saying without them, what we're seeing today would not have happened.
It is, they certainly had a role. They mobilized strongly about it. Social media did. Public opinion did. All of this came together. It was the same kind of alliance of forces that we saw around the removal of Jacob Zuma last year, public mobilization. And that was there, and that stirs up public opinion and makes people much more aware, much more sensitive, the general public, much more sensitive about what the ANC is doing and not doing. And in that gap, the ANC will read that strategically and will decide in order to save face, in order to do justice to this project that Cyril Ramaphosa as president tries to introduce, that has to happen.
But what does placating the ANC's factions do to Cyril Ramaphosa as opposed to actually showing the South African public that he's actually very firm and decisive? I mean, which one would you take if you were in his position?
You know, it's such a compromise, it's such a strategic little tactical game, big tactical game that the ANC.
But is it going to pay off for him?
You know, that is something they're gambling with. They're gambling with a bit of Ramaphoria being retained, even if much of it is wearing off in the light of economic hardship and unemployment, etc. That Ramaphoria doesn't go all the way, but they hope that they can play public sentiment and play public opinion, because there is a public out there who still wants to believe the ANC, who still wants to believe that the ANC can do things better and can retrieve that ethical basis that it claims to have, even if in practical politics that is all not always very evident. And the ANC is also playing on those public opinion polls, some credible ones amongst them, that show that people really want to believe that the ANC is doing things better than in the past, that it is a type of a new ANC, ANC. Much persuasion needs to be done, and the ANC is very aware that it has more following and public support than the opposition parties have. Even if opposition parties will get credit, EFF and several other opposition parties have been very, very vocal about dishonesty, about lies, about especially highlighting the contradictions in Nhlanhla Nene's utterances.
Now, the EFF is saying it's doing this for all the good reasons, and it's something that any and every citizen should have done in their position. But politically, it does play into the hands of the agenda of those opposed to Cyril Ramaphosa and those who say they want to clean up, isn't it?
Yes, there is a very uncomfortable alliance of sentiment and public positioning there, because those who are trying to discredit Ramaphosa and want to show that this is happening within Ramaphosa's own camp, they take great joy in the fact that there is that broader alliance out there, which brings the kind of pressure that it does. But it is. The Zumas and the EFF here are in that same camp. And we see on the Twitter route, etc., on social media, the Gupta alliances around previous public media, the figures and names that were very prominent there, they are the ones foremost in discrediting, for example, they're trying to discredit the Zondo Commission. And so that is a very game of shifting alliances. But yes, I can understand Chu away from the EFF points of view. They cannot say because the Zuptas might agree with us, we cannot push a point that we feel strongly about.
Quickly, very, very quickly, Prof. There are people who say, well, going back to, tired hands like those of Tito Mboweni, whatever his credentials, or not to take away from his credentials, means the ANC has run out of ideas.
The ANC was certainly going for a safe option, one where given economically volatile circumstances, there's someone that wouldn't have to prove that this is a person who can do the job. This person has got all the credentials. He has not cooled off. He is non-executive level, part of the BRICS Bank, etc. Is still very, very active in the political and economic game. The big debate is going to be, is the new Liberals dusted off, and all those old debates of more than economic ideological debates of more than a decade ago, are those now going to be revived again?
Prof, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you for you.